the greatest assistance in fighting Al-Qaeda and ISIS and other groups in Afghanistan will ironically be the Taliban.
Well, yeah.
They're no friends of them now. They just want to be left alone. And so a lot of the heavy lifting on the ground, perversely, will be done by Taliban fighters.
So how do you do that with intelligence, Tyson? Do you need to have spies in some capacity there?
Carefully, I guess, is the big word. And, where some of that information is going to have to be supplied to people that you don't like, that you can't get the Taliban to take action, or you can't point them in the right direction without providing them some information. And human intelligence, the intelligence gathered from people on the ground, that's going to be extraordinarily difficult to gather in a country like Afghanistan, but not impossible. And that's what agencies like the CIA and the UK SIS undertake. Electronic intelligence, monitoring, drones, as you mentioned, the use of intelligence gathering aircraft, all of those things, as well as space-based assets, will be really important. But the fight against terrorism is a global one, and it won't just be restricted to Afghanistan.
And what about the equipment? We saw the pictures yesterday of members of the Taliban. They're dressed up and in the full American fatigues. They've raided the bases. You can see all the military hardware that the Americans have left behind. They have disabled it. But is there any way that can be used, or is it simply symbolic for the years ahead and will just sit there?
I remember during the 80s and 90s, the Mujahideen then turned a Russian helicopter into a bus. So their ability to adapt technology is there. I'd also point to Iran just across the border that had a whole lot of modern US kit at the time of the revolution in 1979 that they're still operating. Having said that, the amount of kit and the sophistication of kit left behind isn't huge. It's transport aircraft, transport helicopters, some counterinsurgency aircraft, many of which have gone over the border into countries like Uzbekistan. Others have been disabled. And then hundreds of thousands of small arms and helmets, equipment, all that sort of stuff that you saw with those guys who were kitted up going into the hangar. So there's certainly no shortage of weapons going around. The more complex stuff will be harder for them.
Yeah, you just pointed out some neighbouring countries there too around Afghanistan. It brings me back to the point of how does America control the war against terror now while not having boots on the ground, at least officially anyway. Where does America base itself? What country?
Really hard, and that 20-year fractious frenemy relationship with Pakistan is still going to be crucial to the management of counter-terrorist operations in Afghanistan. Likewise, America's relationships with those Central Asian countries that have often had a closer relationship to Russia and have developing relationships with China. So this is countries like Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and then Iran, no friend of the United States, and will look to make things as difficult as they can for them. So it's going to be a real challenge getting into that landlocked, difficult to penetrate country like Afghanistan to do those intelligence-led operations. But as I said before, the Taliban have no desire to be a safe haven for terrorists again. They saw what happened last time, and I think they will be one of the chief assets in this really topsy-turvy situation to eliminate those terrorist networks in Afghanistan.
There are some 2,000 members of ISIS-K in Afghanistan at the moment. Do you believe that they will be able to recruit moving forward now that potential members of ISIS have perhaps a country where they can progress?
I don't think so. I don't think it's in the interests of the Taliban regime to let ISIS-K thrive. Obviously, the Taliban's hold on the country is by no means absolute, and in Afghanistan, the ability to develop militias and terrorist groups and and private little armies is something that's characterised its history. So there will be pockets of ISIS-K and other groups that will exist in Afghanistan. The Taliban, I don't think, has an interest in letting them survive, and I don't think that they will thrive, nor do I think that they will gain significant numbers of new recruits beyond what they already have. So I think they will face a difficult existence, and their ability to export that terror outside of Afghanistan's borders will be limited.